The year is 2010. The place, La Jolla, California. It's March, and I hold my first national marketing with a book summit. I made a list of my dream keynoters. The top of the list was Mark LeBlanc. He agreed to do it. He said, if you do it again, I want to be there. And 6 months later, I did. We had 45 people in La Jolla. Mark was there. And then I thought, well, this guy's too busy, but I want to do 4 next year. And I thanked him and told him my plans. And he immediately called me and said, Henry, if you do another marketing with a book summit and you don't invite me, I'd be sad. And I said, shut up. We're not doing another one without you. We did over 100 nationwide. It led to the creation of indie books and what you're seeing here. Also along the way, I attended his Achievers Circles. You've talked about it. It's how I met Mark. I started writing about it when I heard about his unusual anti-boot camp. I've been to 25 of them. I really recommend people to use it as at least an annual retreat for their business. And if you want more information on that, you'll certainly get it. With that, I'd like to turn it over to my brother from another mother, my business partner, and person who I would call if I was in jail somewhere, Mark LeBlanc.
Thank you, Henry. Do you remember when you figured out what you wanted to do for the rest of your life? Do you remember when it was? Well, of course, it evolves along the way. I'm not sure any of us woke up in high school one day and thinking about what we would do for our careers, and we woke up and thought, I'm going to be an author, or I'm going to be a speaker, or by God, I'm going to be the best consultant around. But it evolves over the course of time. I remember when I was a little boy in the 60s, I knew who I wanted to be. I wanted to be Bobby Sherman. Now, music has always played in it. Did I just say that out loud? Bobby Sherman? Music has always been important to me. And I remember listening to and watching Bobby Sherman on the Ed Sullivan Show in the late 60s. And promise me, for those of you that are not familiar with Bobby Sherman, that you will not search him or seek him out on YouTube. Promise me you will not watch any of Bobby Sherman's videos on YouTube. But I wanted to be Bobby Sherman. I was in the 3rd grade. And I went to every girl named Julie, and I would sing to her. Julie, 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 do you love me? Julie, 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 do you care? Julie, Julie, are you thinking of me? Julie, Julie, will you still be there? Now, it was a lot better in my mind. I think I was a much better singer in the 3rd grade. Interestingly enough, every girl named Julie and a few others that were not named Julie all ran away from me. And all I could think of was easy come, easy go. And I would go home, I'd walk home from school, and I'd just be singing Bobby Sherman songs. La, 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 la. There ain't nothing in this world I couldn't do. La, 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 la. My dreams would all come true if I had you. Again, you will not watch any of Bobby Sherman's videos on YouTube. And then I got a little older in junior high. I changed. I didn't want to be Bobby Sherman anymore. I wanted to be a football player. And my hero at the time was Fran Tarkenton, the scrambler for the Minnesota Vikings. And when I was in the 7th grade, I was the quarterback for our 7th grade football team. And I remember in the very first game that I suited up for as the quarterback, I threw the longest pass that I could throw, and it was caught, and it set up a winning touchdown with less than a minute to go. And I was a bit of the hero in that very first game. I think for the rest of my junior high and senior high football career, I think that was the only pass I ever threw that was caught. I guess football is not in the cards for me. Now, I was never much of a student. I was always in plays and all school play, the one-act play, speech contests. I was winning speech contests and ribbons and medals. And I just felt alive when I was in front of even a classroom doing some kind of speech. And then at the age of 21, 1982, December 3rd of 1982, I was invited to attend a meeting of the National Speakers Association, Minnesota chapter. And I walked into a room of about 21 speakers or so, 20, 25. And it was as if a switch went off in my head and my heart and my gut. And I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I went home for Christmas a couple of weeks later and I told my dad, I said, I now know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And my dad looked at me and he said, what's that? And I said, I'm going to be a professional speaker. And he looked at me and he said, Mark, can you make any money doing that? And I said, I don't know, but I met this group called NSA and they're all rich. Now, little did I know at the age of 21 what I know today. They were not all rich, but where could a young guy put his toe into a profession, into a career, into his dream, and have the opportunity to have the kind of impact and influence that hopefully I've been able to have over the course of time and will continue to have. This year, I will celebrate my 40th year of that chapter meeting in 1982. 40 years, and it went by in a blink. I still remember it like it was yesterday. It has not been easy. I have ridden the roller coaster of the ups and downs, the highs and the lows. I have the scars to prove it. In fact, I think I quit over 1,000 times. And fortunately for me, I recommitted myself 1,001. And if I had not, I certainly would not have done to this point over 1,000 presentations titled Growing Your Business, published 6 books, conducted 159 weekend retreats called the Achievers Circle, clocked over 20,000 business coaching hours, and become a partner in Indie Books International, and certainly would not have had the honor and privilege of serving as president of the National Speakers Association and to be with you today. It has not been easy. I don't know what you want. In fact, I would suggest to you that the second most difficult question for people to answer is, what do you want? The second most difficult question to answer is the question, what do you want? The first the most difficult question for people to answer is, what are you willing to do in order to get what you want? And if I've learned anything along the way, myself included, that very few people over the course of time will truly do what it takes in order to get what they want. And I believe that that has been the problem, the challenge for me of riding the roller coaster of the ups and downs along the way. I think part of the challenge, in fact, I think there are two things that prevent people from getting where they ultimately want to go. One, they want it to be easier. And number two, they want it now. They want it, don't you? Don't you just want to turn that switch on and just leapfrog to becoming as successful as you are capable of becoming? No one has ever come back to me and said, you know, Mark, that success thing and achievement and results, oh, I am so happy. You know, the interesting thing, Mark, it happened a lot faster than I thought it was going to be. And secondly, it was a lot easier reaching my dreams. No one who has stood the test of time has ever come back and said, it was easier than I thought, and it happened faster than I ever imagined it would happen. But when we think about how to accelerate our results, I know you. I've got a pretty good pulse on what you want. In fact, you might be unique in God's eyes. You're not in mine. We all want things to happen a little sooner and a little faster. And let's get on with it. If you need to make something great happen, let's just say in the next 30 days, I'm going to encourage you to adopt and adapt one seemingly simple strategy. In fact, if you want something great to happen in the next 12 months, in the next 90 days, and in the next 30 days, I want you to play along with me here for just a moment. And I want you to hold one finger up, and I want you to repeat after me. Are you ready? In fact, you should probably warm up a little bit. You should never try this at home without properly warming up. Just hold up one finger. Repeat after me. In fact, just maybe you could go off mute for a minute. Click off your mute button. Repeat after me. Make. Oh, very good. Let's try that again. Make one business development all a day. One a day. One a day. Just like my vitamins. One a day. One a day. Give yourself and each other a round of applause.
Bravo.
Okay, not too much in sync, not too much in unison, but that's okay. This is an individual sport. Go ahead and go back on mute for the rest of my presentation. But that's it, Mark. That's it. Make one business development call a day. That's it, baby. In addition to everything else that you are fooling around with over the course of the day, if you would just ground your day with one business development call a day, 12 months from now, I will guarantee you that we will have a very exciting conversation. You don't need to reach one person a day. You simply need to reach out to one person a day. Now, for me, I like the telephone. I know that not everyone is as comfortable with the telephone. And earlier I said, adopt and adapt this strategy. But whether it's one business development call a day or one business development email a day, there are days I will make a call, other days I will send an email, other days I will send a storm starter a text or a storm starter post on Facebook or LinkedIn. But at the end of the day, what you need to ask yourself is, did I plant a seed today in the direction of my dream? Just one. Did I plant one seed today? In fact, you can always plant more, but always plant one. In fact, there are people who will say to me, Mark, here's what I am passionate about. And I will ask him or her, well, tell me a little bit about what you're doing to move your passion forward. Well, I'm not really doing anything right now. I have a job. I've got the wolf at the door. I've got problems. I've got kids, mouths to feed at home. But I am really passionate about fill in the blank. Now, I don't take people on anymore. But I would suggest to you that if you're not willing to plant a single solitary seed every day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month for the next 12 months, you are not passionate about what you want to do more of. You are merely interested in doing more of the good work. And at that point, you might be guilty of purpose, malpractice. Purpose, malpractice. And I want you to think about that over the course of the next few days. And when you would come into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week, and at the end of the day, your moment of truth, did I plant a seed today in the direction of my dream? On an interesting note, next summer, not all of you know this, but about me, but next summer I will go on a short 500-mile walk across Spain for the 4th time. It is the most grueling and the most profound experience of my life. And yes, it will be my 4th time. I'm affectionately known as the Camino guy. And the first time I walked the Camino was in 2008. I had just completed my term of service as president of the National Speakers Association, one of the most exciting, exhilarating, and yet one of the most exhausting years of my professional speaking career and of my business life. In fact, when we turned the lights out in New York City at the Marriott Marquis, when the convention for that year was over, I was about as exhausted as I've ever been in my life. And I flew back to Minneapolis and thought, I'll just rest up for a couple of days and maybe a week and get a massage or two, and I'll be back out from underneath this commitment, and I can get back to my business, back to my clients, and make something great happen. For the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to be burned out. 30 days later, I was on fumes. I had nothing. I had no creativity. I had no energy. I had no drive. I told my clients, I said, I'm going to Spain for 5 weeks. Just let me get out of here. I'll be back. So I did what any normal person would do. I shaved my head shiny bald. I'd never done that before. I'd always wanted to do that. I put a backpack on for the first time in my life. Now, the interesting thing about putting a backpack on for the first time in your life, I was not a trekker. I was not a backpacker. I'd been studying for this Camino, researching for 2 years what to put in your pack and what to leave at home. But on the morning I was to fly to Paris, France, and take a train down to a little village, Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in southern France, to start my walk, it was as if my brain went out my ear. There are no stores in Spain, and I started grabbing things, and I put too much in my backpack. I shudder today, laugh at myself, at the things I took along on that first Camino. But I flew to Paris, took a train down to southern France, Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, to start my walk. If you can imagine a bald, burned out Marc LeBlanc with too much in his backpack, that was me. And on day one, I could not believe that I was about to take step number 1 on the Camino de Santiago. People have been walking the Camino for over 1,000 years. All walks of life, all faiths and non-believers walk the Camino year in and year out. And on day 1, it had started to rain. Now the Camino doesn't break you in gently. You're not even leaving the little village of Saint Jean and you're starting to ascend Mount Lepideur. It is the most grueling day of the entire 500-mile trek across Spain. But I went up and over Mount Lepideur, landed in a little village called Roncesvalles, and that night, I was having dinner with about a dozen or so people from around the world, and we're all scared. I was there to walk the Camino in approximately 30 days, and a lot of people from Europe will walk it in stages, maybe 1 week a year for 5 years. And I met these 3 women from England, and one in particular, her name was Judith. Now, she didn't look like a walker to me. She didn't look like she was in very good shape here. I had trained for this. I was dying after one day, for God's sake. This was Judith's 3rd stage. Here I was, tough guy, and I'm scared. And I looked at Judith and I said, Judith, might you have any advice for me after one day on the Camino? And Judith looked at me and she said, Mark, no matter how badly your feet are bruised and blistered and bleeding, she said, you can always take one more step. You can always take one more step. My friends, I have grown up over the last almost 40 years in the National Speakers Association. I've heard every miserable motivational quote in the history of the world, maybe the universe, maybe the galaxy, for God's sake. Nothing has ever inspired me more than the words of Judith. You can always take one more step. There's a saying in the financial services world, and the saying goes like this, and you have heard this saying, that past performance is not an indicator of future results. You know that. Let me suggest to you what is an indicator of future results. Today's performance is an indicator of future results. The decisions you make and the steps that you take each and every day will ultimately take you where you want to go. Or they won't. Choose your steps wisely. It is your challenge. It is your responsibility. You are the owner of your business, the director, the captain of your ship, the quarterback of your team. Choose wisely. Let me share with you what my definition of success is. Success is not determined by your results. Success is determined by your momentum. Your momentum is determined by how you feel. And how you feel is ultimately determined by the consistent daily application of the best you have within you, or your personal best. I'm going to repeat that. Success is not determined by your results. Success is determined by your momentum. Your momentum is determined by how you feel, and how you feel is ultimately determined by the consistent daily application of the best you have within you, or your personal best. And we know that our personal best rises and falls like a thermometer on a daily basis. Your dream will test everything you have inside of you. But you've been called, you are compelled to do noble work in this world. It is my hope that the world, I believe the world maybe more than ever before, with what we have going on in our lifetime, the world needs to read you. And the world needs to hear you. As you move forward in the direction of your dream, you may never remember me, nor remember my words. But what I want you to carry with you for the rest of your days are the words of the great Judith. You can always take one more step.